Rain lashed against the windows of the immigration office in Haidong. Amara Okoye stared at the rejection letter in her trembling hands, the red stamp blurring as tears threatened to fall. 4 hours. She had just 4 hours before her visa expired, and her life in South Korea would end. Final notice of deportation, she whispered, reading the words again as if they might change. 2 years of building a life here, gone. Her art, her dreams, everything. Thunder cracked outside as the office door swung open. A man in an expensive suit stepped inside, shaking water from a black umbrella. The immigration officers straightened immediately, their faces shifting from boredom to alertness in seconds. The man's eyes found Amara across the room. Dark, calculating, cold. He walked directly toward her, his footsteps echoing in the suddenly silent room. "Amara Okoye?" His voice was soft, but carried an unmistakable command. She nodded, clutching her rejection letter tighter. "My name is Seo Jinhwan. I have a proposition for you." He checked his watch. "You have exactly 4 hours until deportation. I'm offering you a way to stay in Korea." Amara's breath caught. "How?" His eyes met hers, unreadable and dark. "Marry me tonight." If you're enjoying this story already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more captivating stories like this one. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Now let's get back to Amara's impossible choice. The lawyer beside Jinhwan opened a sleek briefcase, revealing a contract and 2 pens. "This is insane," Amara said, looking between the men. "I don't even know you." "And yet in 4 hours, you'll either be my wife or on a plane back to Nigeria with nothing," Jinhwan replied, his voice matter-of-fact. "Your choice." Amara's mind raced. 2 years ago, she'd arrived in South Korea with a prestigious art scholarship and dreams of becoming a recognized mural artist. Then the gallery funding collapsed in a financial scandal. Her sponsor vanished. Her visa renewal was rejected despite appeals. Now she stood at the precipice of losing everything. "Why me?" she asked, studying the man's impassive face. He was handsome in a severe way. Sharp cheekbones, perfect skin, eyes that revealed nothing. "I need a wife who has no connections to my world," Jinhwan said simply. "You need legal status, a mutually beneficial arrangement." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Miss Okoye, my client is offering you residency protection, financial stability, and a studio for your art. In exchange, you provide him with a clean public image." "A clean image?" Amara frowned. "Why would you need that?" Something flickered in Jinhwan's eyes. "That's not your concern. This is business, not romance. One rule, no questions about who I am or what I do. And if I agree? Then sign now." He slid the contract toward her. "The immigration office closes in 30 minutes. Amara read the terms quickly. 1-year marriage minimum. Separate living quarters at his estate. Monthly allowance. No public displays of affection required. Just occasional appearances as a couple. Her hand hovered over the signature line. "What happens after 1 year? If you wish to leave, I won't stop you. You'll maintain residency status and receive a settlement." Jinhwan's voice remained emotionless. "But understand this. Once you're my wife, my enemies become your enemies. My secrets become your burden. And you can never, ever try to find out who I really am." Amara's stomach tightened. What kind of man made offers like this? What kind of secrets did he have? But as the clock ticked down on her visa, what choice did she have? "I'll sign," she said finally. Jinhwan nodded once, his expression unchanging. "Welcome to the family, Mrs. Seo." 3 hours later, Amara stood in a small government office as a clerk stamped their marriage certificate. No white dress, no family, no romance, just official signatures and a gold band that felt alien on her finger. Jinhwan's phone buzzed constantly. He answered in rapid Korean, his voice shifting to something harder, sharper. Amara caught none of it, but the clerk's nervous glances told her enough. Whoever she had just married carried weight in this city. "We're leaving for Baikram Valley," Jinhwan said, pocketing his phone. "My driver will take us." Outside, a black luxury car waited. The driver bowed deeply, not the polite nod Koreans typically gave, but a full, respectful bow reserved for important people. Amara slid into the back seat, clutching her small suitcase. Everything she owned in Korea fit inside it. As they drove away from the city lights, Amara's phone buzzed, a notification that her residency status had been updated. Already, as if invisible hands had been waiting to process it the moment she said, "I do." "How did you get my visa approved so quickly?" she asked. Xie Jinhuan didn't look up from his phone. I know people. What kind of people? His eyes finally met hers, a warning in them. Remember our agreement, no questions. The drive took them through winding mountain roads until they reached a massive iron gate embedded in stone walls. Guards stepped forward, bowing deeply to Jinhuan before opening the entrance. Amara had expected a mansion, perhaps some luxury estate. Instead, she found herself looking at a sprawling traditional Korean house surrounded by orchards, apple and pear trees stretched in neat rows, disappearing into the misty valley. Workers moved among them despite the late hour. This is Baekram Valley Estate, Jinhuan said, as if sensing her confusion. My home. You're a farmer? Amara couldn't keep the disbelief from her voice. Then something almost like amusement flickered across his face. Among other things, the main house was beautiful, traditional Korean architecture with modern comforts. An older woman met them at the door, bowing to Jinhuan before giving Amara a suspicious look. This is Mrs. Park, the housekeeper, Jinhuan explained. She'll show you to your quarters. You're not staying here? Amara asked. I have business in the city. I'll return tomorrow. He started to walk away, then paused. One more thing. The estate is fully secured. Don't wander beyond the main gardens at night, for your safety. Before she could ask what that meant, he was gone. Mrs. Park led Amara to a separate wing of the house, a beautiful suite with a bedroom, bathroom, and small sitting area. But it was the adjoining room that made Amara gasp. A fully equipped art studio with blank canvases, paints, brushes, and large windows overlooking the orchard. Mr. Seo had this prepared for you, Mrs. Park said in halting English. Amara ran her fingers over the expensive brushes. How had he known exactly what she needed? What kind of man created a perfect studio for a wife he'd met hours ago? That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She stood at her window, watching the orchard in moonlight. Movement caught her eye. Men in dark clothes patrolling the perimeter. Not farmers, guards. Their jackets occasionally revealing what looked suspiciously like gun holsters. What kind of orchard needed armed security? Morning brought no answers. Jinhuan was absent at breakfast. Mrs. Park informed Amara that she could explore the main house and gardens, but should stay away from the eastern buildings where business happened. Restless, Amara wandered outside. Workers bowed respectfully as she passed, their eyes curious but cautious. The estate was beautiful. Traditional Korean buildings nestled among flowering trees, a stream running through carefully tended gardens. But the atmosphere felt wrong, tense, as if everyone was waiting for something. Near one of the orchard walls, Amara found peeling paint and weathered plaster. Without thinking, she ran her fingers over it, imagining the mural she could create there. A blend of Korean landscapes and Nigerian colors. You shouldn't touch that. She spun around to find a young man watching her. Unlike the others, he didn't immediately bow. I'm Minho, he said in careful English. I manage the orchards. Amara, I'm the new wife, everyone knows. His eyes were cautious. You're not what we expected. What did you expect? Someone Korean. Someone, he hesitated, connected. Connected to what? Minho's expression closed immediately. You should go back to the house, Mrs. Seo. As he walked away, Amara called after him. Is this really just an orchard? Minho stopped, his back still turned. A friendly warning. Don't ask questions here. It's safer that way. Throughout the day, Amara observed more oddities. Workers who didn't look like farmers, buildings with keypad locks, security cameras disguised among tree branches, and always the sense of being watched. At sunset, black cars began arriving. Men in expensive suits entered a building at the far edge of the property, the area she'd been warned to avoid. Through a window, she glimpsed them bowing deeply to someone inside. Jinhuan returned after dark. When he entered the dining room where Amara waited, the atmosphere changed instantly. Servants moved faster, guards stood straighter. Even Mrs. Park, who had been brusque all day, became deferential. Did you settle in? He asked, taking a seat across from her. The studio is perfect, Amara admitted. Thank you for that. He nodded once, accepting the gratitude without comment. But this isn't just an orchard, is it? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Jinhuan's chopsticks paused halfway to his mouth. The silence stretched until Amara thought he might not answer. The estate has been in my family for generations, he said finally. The orchards produce some of Korea's finest pears. But yes, I conduct other business here as well. What kind of business requires armed guards? His eyes hardened. We had an agreement, Amara. No questions about my work. I married you, she said, leaning forward. I think I have a right to know if I'm living in some kind of compound. Jinwon set down his chopsticks, studying her with those unreadable eyes. You're safe here. That's all you need to know. That's not an answer. It's the only one you'll get. He stood, conversation clearly over. There's a gallery opening in Haedong next week. We'll attend together, our first public appearance. Mrs. Park will help you find suitable clothes. With that, he left, leaving Amara alone with her growing suspicions. Over the next days, Amara found herself drawn to the crumbling orchard wall. Without asking permission, she began sketching designs. A mural blending Korean and Nigerian elements, mountains flowing into savanna, tigers and lions coexisting, cherry blossoms and hibiscus intertwining. To her surprise, no one stopped her. Minho even arranged for workers to bring her a ladder and painting supplies. Mr. Seo didn't approve this, she said suspiciously. Minho shrugged. The walls need repainting anyway. Might as well make them beautiful. As she worked, the atmosphere around her gradually shifted. Workers paused to watch. Some offered suggestions or asked questions about Nigeria. The estate began to feel less forbidding. On the third day, as Amara balanced precariously on her ladder, adding details to a tiger's face, she felt someone watching. Turning, she found Jinhwan standing silently among the trees. How long he'd been there, she couldn't tell. You didn't ask permission, he said, approaching the wall. Amara braced for anger, but his expression showed something else. Curiosity. The wall was falling apart, she replied. I'm improving it. He studied the half-finished mural, the blending of cultures, the vibrant colors bringing life to the weathered stone. You're talented, he said finally. Not effusive praise, but the simple acknowledgement seemed genuine. Thank you. That's what I was trying to do before my visa was cancelled. Bring Nigerian mural traditions to Korean spaces. Something shifted in his eyes. Why murals specifically? The question surprised her. It was the first personal thing he'd asked. Murals belong to everyone, Amara explained, setting down her brush. Not just people who can afford gallery admission. They transform ordinary spaces into something meaningful. Jinhwan nodded thoughtfully. Like seeing beauty where others see ruin. The unexpected insight caught her off guard. Exactly. For a moment, something genuine passed between them. Then his phone buzzed and the mask returned. The wall is yours. Paint what you want. Before he could leave, Amara asked, Why an artist? For your arrangement. You could have chosen anyone. Jinhwan paused. Artists see the world differently. They notice details others miss. Yet they're often too focused on their vision to see what's right in front of them. The answer sent a chill through her. Was that why he chose her? Someone observant enough to be interesting, but too absorbed in art to notice his secrets? Hey everyone! If you're loving this story so far, now's the perfect time to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Comment below what you think Jinhwan's real business is, and don't forget to like this video to let me know you want more stories like this. Now, let's get back to Amara's discovery. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. Jinhwan's words echoed in her mind. What was right in front of her that she wasn't seeing? A sudden commotion outside drew her to the window. Men were rushing toward the eastern building. Even from a distance, she could see Jinhwan standing in the doorway, his posture rigid with anger. Without thinking, Amara slipped on shoes and a jacket, quietly making her way outside. Keeping to the shadows, she moved closer to the eastern building, close enough to hear voices through an open window. The police raided 2 operations in Haedong, someone reported in Korean, which Amara understood just enough to follow. They knew exactly where to look. Someone is talking, Jinhwan replied, his voice colder than Amara had ever heard it. Find them. The Nakamura group is moving into our territory, another voice added. They think you're distracted with your new situation. My marriage changes nothing, Jinhwan said sharply. Double security at all locations. And remind everyone, betrayal has only one consequence in the Hansong Syndicate. Amara's blood turned to ice. Hansong Syndicate. The name had appeared in news reports, one of the most powerful criminal organizations in Korea. And her husband was clearly not just a member, the way the others deferred to him. A twig snapped beneath her foot. Voices inside immediately went silent. Amara turned to run, but a hand clamped over her mouth. Minho's voice whispered urgently in her ear, "Don't make a sound if you want to live." He pulled her quickly away from the building, through the orchard, back toward the main house. Only when they reached the garden did he release her. "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" he hissed. "He's part of the Hanseong syndicate," Amara said, still processing what she'd heard. "Not just part of it. He runs it, doesn't he?" Minho glanced nervously around. "Go back to your room." "Forget what you heard." "Tell me the truth," Amara insisted. "Who did I marry?" Minho's shoulders slumped. Seo Jinwan is the strategic head of the Hanseong syndicate, the brain behind every operation, the man who makes problems and people disappear. The world seemed to tilt beneath Amara's feet. "I'm married to a Mafia boss?" "You married the most feared man in Haedong," Minho corrected. "And he married you because the police were closing in. A businessman who marries a foreign artist and lives quietly in the countryside, it creates a new image, respectability." "I'm his cover story," Amara whispered, the truth finally clear. His alibi. "Now you understand. Go back inside before—" "Before what, Minho?" Jinwan's voice cut through the darkness. Both of them froze. Jinwan stood at the garden entrance, his expression unreadable in the moonlight. "Leave us," he told Minho, who bowed deeply before disappearing. Silence stretched between them. Amara lifted her chin, refusing to show fear despite her racing heart. "You lied to me," she said. "I told you not to ask questions." Jinwan approached slowly. "That was for your protection." "Protection?" Amara laughed bitterly. "You made me marry into a criminal organization. I made you a deal that solved your problems. By turning me into your alibi." Something flashed in his eyes. Anger, perhaps, or frustration. "Yes, the police were watching me. A married man with an artist wife looks like someone settling down, becoming legitimate. You needed residency. I needed a new public identity, business. What happens when the police realize it's fake? It's not fake. The marriage is legal. Your visa is real." Amara shook her head. "I can't do this. I can't be married to whatever you are." "You signed a contract," Jinwan reminded her, his voice hardening. Breaking it would be unwise. The threat hung in the air between them. Amara felt tears of anger burning behind her eyes. "So I'm trapped? Your prisoner?" Jinwan stepped closer, close enough that she could see his face clearly in the moonlight. For the first time, something like regret flickered across his features. "You're my wife," he said quietly. "I planned to keep you safe, to give you the studio you wanted, to let you create your art while I handled my business. I planned for many things, Amara." He paused, something vulnerable briefly crossing his face. "I didn't plan to care." The confession, so at odds with his cold demeanor, where he left Amara speechless. Before she could respond, he turned away. "You know the truth now. What you do with it is your choice." As he walked away, Amara called after him. "What does that mean? What choice do I have?" Jinwan paused without turning. "You could run. I wouldn't stop you. But my enemies would find you, and they would not be as restrained as I am." With that chilling warning, he disappeared into the night, leaving Amara alone with an impossible choice. The next morning, Amara half expected to find guards at her door, but there were none. Her studio remained unlocked. Even her phone worked normally. She could have called for help, exposed everything. But Jinwan's warning echoed in her mind. "My enemies would find you." Instead of running, Amara did the only thing that made sense to her. She painted. Throwing herself into her mural, she worked from sunrise until her arms ached, pouring her confusion and fear into vibrant colors and bold strokes. The estate continued its strange rhythms around her. Black cars came and went. Men in suits held meetings in the eastern building. But no one interfered with her work. On the fourth day after her discovery, storm clouds gathered over Bayakrim Valley. Workers rushed to protect the ripening fruit, covering trees with nets, securing equipment. "Typhoon coming," Mrs. Park informed her at lunch. "Bad one. You stay inside tonight." By evening, rain lashed against the windows as wind howled through the valley. From her room, Amara watched trees bending under the assault, debris flying through the air. Then she saw them, figures moving through the storm. Shi Jinwan and a handful of men fighting to secure the orchard. One of the large storage buildings had partly collapsed, threatening to crush a section of trees. Without thinking, Amara grabbed a raincoat and ran outside. The wind nearly knocked her over as she fought her way toward the orchard. "What are you doing?" Jinwan shouted when he saw her. rain plastering his hair to his face. Gone was the polished businessman, replaced by a man covered in mud, hands rough from work. "Helping!" Amara yelled back over the howling wind. "Tell me what to do!" For a moment, he looked like he might send her back. Instead, he pointed to a stack of sandbags. "The stream is flooding. We need to divert it from the young trees." For hours they worked side by side in the mud and rain. Amara's muscles screamed as she hauled sandbags, secured tarps, helped workers rescue equipment from flooding buildings. The elegant Mafia boss and his artist wife, knee-deep in mud, fighting nature together. Near midnight, as they struggled to secure a collapsing shed, Amara slipped in the mud. Jinhwan caught her before she fell, his strong hands steadying her. For a moment, they stood close enough that she could feel his breath, see the rain clinging to his eyelashes. Something shifted between them in that moment. Something neither of them had planned for. By dawn, the worst had passed. Exhausted workers trudged back to their quarters. The orchard had survived, though not without damage. Amara's hands were blistered, her muscles aching. In the main house kitchen, she found Jinhwan alone, making tea. Like her, he was still in muddy clothes, exhaustion evident in the slump of his shoulders. "You should have stayed inside," he said without turning. "And let your orchard wash away? I don't think so." Amara winced as she tried to flex her raw hands. Jinhwan noticed. Without a word, he retrieved a first aid kit, gesturing for her to sit. Gently, he cleaned the mud from her cuts, applied ointment, wrapped bandages around her palms. His touch was surprisingly gentle for a man known for violence. "Why did you help?" he asked quietly. "After what you learned about me." Amara considered the question. "The orchard is innocent. The workers are innocent. They don't deserve to suffer because their boss is—" She trailed off. "A criminal?" he supplied. "I was going to say complicated." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. From a nearby fruit basket, he selected a perfectly ripe pear, placed it beside her bandaged hand. "First harvest of the season," he said. "They taste best after surviving a storm." The gesture felt strangely intimate, more personal than anything that had passed between them before. A peace offering, perhaps, or something more. After that night, something changed. Jinhwan still disappeared for business, still maintained his distance, but there were moments, brief glimpses of the man beneath the Mafia boss. He would stop to watch her paint, sometimes asking questions about techniques or meanings. He brought books on Korean art history to her studio. Once, he even added a suggestion for her mural, a traditional Korean phoenix rising alongside her Nigerian eagle. Amara found herself noticing things about him too. The careful way he checked on injured workers after the storm. How he always ate the same simple breakfast. The fact that despite his wealth, his own quarters were Spartan, almost monastic. Then came the letter from immigration. "They're investigating our marriage," Jinhwan announced one evening, setting the official notice on the table between them. "Random selection, they claim." Amara's stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" "It means in 2 weeks, we have an interview. They'll try to determine if our marriage is genuine or arranged for visa purposes." His expression was grim. "If they decide it's fraudulent, you'll be deported. And you will become their primary suspect again." The gravity of the situation settled over them. Everything Jinhwan had arranged, her residency, his cover, the delicate balance of his public and private lives, all hinged on convincing strangers their marriage was real. "We need to prepare," he said decisively. "Learn everything real couples would know about each other. Personal details, habits, shared experiences." And so began the strangest 2 weeks of Amara's life. Each evening, they sat together, creating a believable history for their relationship. First meeting stories, favorite foods and colors, family backgrounds. "Where did we first kiss?" Amara asked, making notes in a journal. Jinhwan considered this. "The Namsan Tower, overlooking the city at sunset. Romantic enough to be believable." "And who said 'I love you' first?" Something flickered in his eyes. "I did. After you helped me through a business crisis, you were unexpected strength when I needed it most." The answer felt too specific to be invented, too personal. Amara found herself wondering if he was drawing from real emotions rather than fiction. As days passed, their rehearsed history began blurring with reality. The storm they'd weathered together became part of their story. Her mural on his orchard wall, evidence of their shared aesthetic. Even their arguments contained elements of truth. The night before their interview, Amara found Jinhwan in his study, staring at old photographs. One showed a younger version of himself, alongside an older man with the same sharp features. "My father," he said, noticing her presence. "He built the Hansong Syndicate from nothing." "Is he dead? 5 years now." Jinhwan's expression darkened. "Rival organization. That's when I took over." Amara sat across from him, sensing a rare moment of openness. "Did you want this life?" He was quiet so long, she thought he might not answer. "I wanted to protect what was mine," he finally said. "The syndicate was falling apart after my father died. People were suffering, not just members, but families who depended on us." His eyes met hers. "In the neighborhoods we control, elderly people don't go hungry. Children have schools. Businesses don't suffer from random violence. But the police see only what they want to see." Bitterness edged his voice. "They call us criminals while taking bribes from corporations that poison rivers and exploit workers." Amara studied him, seeing the complexity she'd missed before. "So you're a criminal with principles?" "I'm a man who made choices," he corrected. "Some I regret, others I would make again." His eyes held hers. "Marrying you was one of the latter." The confession hung between them. Before Amara could respond, he stood. "We should rest. Tomorrow will be challenging." But as she turned to leave, he added softly, "Whatever happens tomorrow, Amara, thank you for seeing more than just the monster everyone fears." The immigration office was sterile and intimidating. Amara clutched Jinhwan's hand as they waited, a gesture that had begun as practiced performance, but now felt necessary for her nerves. When they were finally called in, the interviewer was a stern-faced woman with suspicious eyes. "Mr. and Mrs. Seo," she said, not bothering to hide her disbelief. "Quite the unusual couple." The questions began gently but quickly turned probing, invasive. "What side of the bed does your husband sleep on? Who takes longer to get ready in the morning? Describe your first argument. When did you know you were in love?" Jinhwan answered smoothly, his rehearsed responses perfect. Amara followed his lead, trying to remember every detail they'd practiced. Then the interviewer turned her full attention to Amara. "Why would a successful Korean businessman marry a Nigerian artist whose visa was about to expire?" Her tone made the question an accusation. "Why would someone like Seo Jinhwan, who has been under police surveillance for suspected ties to organized crime, suddenly marry a foreigner with no connections, no money, and no status in Korea?" The room went silent. Jinhwan's face remained impassive, but Amara felt him tense beside her. In that moment, all their practiced answers felt hollow. False, like the contract that had brought them together. "I can't answer why he chose me," Amara said finally, abandoning their script. "But I can tell you when I chose him." The interviewer raised an eyebrow. "Please, enlighten me." "During the typhoon that hit Baekrim Valley last month, while other men might have hired workers to save their property, Jinhwan was in the mud, fighting alongside everyone else to save the orchard his family had built." Amara's voice grew stronger as she spoke from genuine memory. "His hands were bleeding from work. He hadn't slept in 20 hours. But when I cut my palm on broken equipment, he stopped everything to bandage it." She held up her hand, showing the fading scar across her palm. "Afterward, he gave me the first pair of the season and told me they taste best after surviving a storm." Amara looked at Jinhwan, whose eyes had widened slightly at her unplanned honesty. "That's when I knew. Not because he's rich or powerful, but because beneath everything else, there's a man who cares deeply about the things and people that belong to him." The interviewer looked between them, her expression unreadable. "And you, Mr. Seo? When did you know?" Jinhwan was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was quieter than Amara had ever heard it. "When she saw the worst of me and stayed anyway." The simple truth of it hung in the air. The interviewer studied them both, then slowly reached for her stamp. The sound of it hitting their application echoed like thunder. "Congratulations," she said curtly. "Your marriage verification is approved." Outside in the privacy of their car, Amara finally released the breath she'd been holding. "We did it!" Jinhwan didn't respond immediately. He was watching her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "You went off script." "I told the truth." "Yes," he agreed softly. "You did." That night, back at Baekrim Valley, Jinhwan called Amara to his study. His expression was grave as he poured 2 glasses of soju. "There's something you need to know," he said, handing her a glass. "The verification wasn't random. My enemies arranged it, hoping to expose our arrangement and weaken my position. Amara took a long sip, wincing at the alcohol's burn. But we passed? We did, but it's only the beginning. Jinhwan looked tired, in a way she hadn't seen before. A syndicate war is starting, Amara. The Nakamura group is making moves against us. Things will get dangerous. Fear crept up her spine. What does that mean for us? It means I need to send you away, back to Nigeria or wherever you want to go. Somewhere safe. His voice was resolute, but his eyes held regret. I can maintain your residency status, provide funds for your art, but you can't stay here. You're divorcing me? I'm protecting you, he corrected. My enemies will target anyone close to me. You've already been in danger longer than you realize. Amara set down her glass with a sharp click. So that's it? You're making this decision without me? It's not a decision, it's a necessity. It's cowardice, Amara shot back. You're scared of what happens when business becomes personal. Anger flashed in his eyes. You have no idea what I've seen happen to people I care about. What my enemies are capable of. You're right, I don't. Because you never tell me anything. Amara stood, frustration boiling over. You married me, brought me into this life, and now you want to send me away because it's getting complicated? Because it's getting dangerous. Jinhwan's voice rose to match hers. Because the thought of you being hurt because of me is unacceptable. That's not your choice to make. It is when I'm the one putting you at risk. He ran a hand through his hair, composure cracking. When I married you, it was business. Clean. Simple. But now. Now what? Amara pressed. Jinhwan's eyes met hers, raw with emotion he'd kept hidden for months. Now there's too much at stake. In the loaded silence that followed, Amara made her decision. She moved around the desk until she stood directly before him. I didn't survive storms with you just to leave now, she said quietly. I didn't paint your walls and learn your secrets and face immigration officers just to run away when things get hard. Amara, I'm staying, she cut him off. Not because of our contract, not because I need a visa anymore. She took a deep breath. Because somehow, in the middle of this mess we created, I found something real, something worth fighting for. Jinhwan stared at her, conflict clear on his face. Then slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, he reached for her hand. His fingers traced the scar on her palm, the one he'd bandaged during the storm. If you stay, he said softly, everything changes. No more separate lives, no more secrets. You become truly part of my world, with all its dangers. I know. My enemies will never stop trying to use you against me. Then we'll face them together. His other hand rose to touch her cheek, a gesture so gentle it made her heart ache. I don't deserve this. You. Probably not, Amara agreed with a small smile. But you're stuck with me anyway. The months that followed weren't easy. True to Jinhwan's warning, the syndicate war escalated. Security around Bekram Valley doubled. Amara learned to recognize the signs of danger, to understand the complex politics of Jinhwan's world. But amid the chaos, something beautiful grew. The orchard walls blossomed with Amara's murals, vibrant paintings that blended Korean and Nigerian cultures, creating something new and unexpected. Just like their relationship, Jinhwan began teaching her Korean properly. She taught him phrases in Igbo. They shared meals, stories, histories. Real ones, not the fiction they'd created for immigration. Slowly, the man behind the Mafia boss emerged. Jinhwan was calculating but fair. Cold in business, but capable of surprising tenderness in private. A man shaped by loss and responsibility, who had never expected to find connection again. And Amara, the artist who had come to Korea, chasing a dream of bringing cultures together through art, found herself doing exactly that, though in a way she never could have imagined. 6 months after their immigration interview, they stood together in the newly renovated orchard, admiring the spring blossoms. Workers moved comfortably around them, no longer afraid of their boss's wife. Minho, now a trusted friend, waved from among the trees. I have something for you, Jinhwan said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside was a pendant, half Korean jade, half Nigerian coral, fused together in a seamless whole. It's beautiful, Amara whispered as he fastened it around her neck. Like your murals, Jinhwan said. It's two worlds becoming something new. His fingers lingered on the pendant. Our contract expired last month. Amara's heart skipped. I know. You're free to go anywhere now. Your residency is secure. Your career is taking off. His eyes searched hers. What do you want, Amara? Truly want? She touched the pendant, feeling its weight against her heart. This. You. Our complicated, dangerous, beautiful life. Relief and joy transformed his face. Jinhwan pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. Our marriage started as protection, he murmured. Now it's the only home I've ever wanted. As cherry blossoms drifted around them, Amara smiled. Then let's stay home. Among the painted walls of an orchard that had survived storms, wars, and secrets, they sealed their true marriage, not with contracts or immigration stamps, but with a kiss that promised everything they'd once pretended to have. A love that, like the best art, transformed ordinary space into something extraordinary. If you enjoyed this story about Amara and Jinhwan's journey from a contract marriage to real love, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with friends who appreciate a good cross-cultural romance with a touch of danger. Comment below what kind of story you'd like to hear next, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most beautiful connections come from the most unexpected arrangements.